What's up, Big Bear Nation? Welcome back to the homestead. So when our girls were younger, like toddler age, 2, 3, 4, somewhere around there, we used to give them tasks that we knew that they could complete, but it was just out of the reach of what they normally do. And a lot of times I would hear, "Mommy, I can't do it, Mommy." And we would tell them that in our family, there is no can't. There's just, I haven't figured it out yet. Well, we're in a situation right now, right in the middle of it, where we had to remind ourselves there is no can't. There's just, I haven't figured it out yet. So about a week ago, we had arranged with friends of ours from up in Virginia to bring 2 dairy cows down here, 2 Jerseys. And if you've seen any of our recent videos, we've been preparing the pasture, getting everything ready. We've even put up a corral. So we were ready. Well, they were set to come down on Tuesday. And wouldn't you have guessed it, that was the day that it decided to be a monsoon here. So the cows got here and it was pouring rain, but we just couldn't leave them in the trailer because they'd been in there for like 5 or 6 hours. So we got them out and it was a struggle. You would have thought they would have been happy to get out of there, but I guess the rain was just a little much. So we got them out and we had brought them in up underneath our hay barn. Now, the hay barn it's a catch-all. We put our tools in there. Sometimes we put the compressor in there. There were some implements from a tractor that was left here when we moved here. We put them in there. We tied them up so that they couldn't really move around a whole lot, like to not hurt themselves basically. And that was just for the evening. So we went in, we milked them. We weren't expecting a whole lot just because they were a little stressed. No big deal. The next day, we milked them in the morning, and the heifer, this is her first time around milking, she kicked me, left a nice little scratch and bruise on my arm, and I think she kicked me again on my leg. But I still maintain that it wasn't attitude, it was she was woofing up grain and she coughed, and that was the result of it. Keep that up. Come on, girlfriend. Other side, Carol. Come on. Come on. Turn the corner, girlfriend. That's a good girl. That evening we milked, and we still were not getting a lot of milk from them. And on top of that, they're Jerseys, so they can be pretty ornery. So we were having to like push them from the corral down to the milking stanchion, which is less than 50 yards. Like, it's not far, but it still took us like 10 to 15 minutes just to get them down to the milking stanchion.
Come on, baby. Baby.
That's a good girl. That's a good girl. So we're a little frustrated. We were a little confused because, you know, we were expecting these Jersey cows to give us some decent milk and just weren't getting it. So we had to remind ourselves it's not about can't, it's just about figuring it out. So we've been doing a couple of things to try and get them more comfortable with us And now you can see they're getting used to the routine. So they know that we come over here, we grab we've still left their lead ropes on so that we can get close enough to them. But I'm really starting to think that we won't have to do that for much longer. Really, one of them, we only have it on there because we haven't gotten a halter that's big enough for her yet. So that's on the list of things to do. But we found a couple of things already that are starting to work. One is music, believe it or not. We started playing 80s music one morning, and that was just out of habit for me because when we worked at the dairy and also when we had our own dairy cow back in Grovetown, I would always turn the radio on before I even got started. And when I turned the radio on, the younger one, the heifer, picked her head up, looked over at the music and was like, I think I kind of like that. And then all of a sudden she started dropping her milk, and I was like, well, maybe at the dairy she was at, maybe they play music, so maybe that's making her feel a little bit more comfortable. The other thing that we're fighting is that at the dairy they were using a machine, where here right now we're milking by hand until we can get our machine up and running. We have a few replacement parts we need to do. So there's that. There's also the weather. The weather over the last almost week has been ridiculous, between nasty storms, thunder, lightning, monsoons, and now it's in the 30s at night. It's cold. So there's a lot of different things going on there that we're trying to eliminate one by one. Another thing, when Thelma, which is the older one, first got here, we noticed that it looked like she had mucus coming from her nose and also a little bit from her eye. And if you know anything about what we've been dealing with in the past, we had Delma back in the summer last year, and she had a respiratory infection. So we were very leery that that could be a problem. But rather than give her a broad spectrum antibiotic that would have had us dumping the milk for 30 days, we opted for just a B12 shot, just to see if maybe it was just a cold or stress. And we did that yesterday, and so far it looks like it's helping. So we're just gonna keep an eye on her, and it looks like her appetite is coming back. And it looks like her milk production, like this morning, her milk was up a little bit. So fingers crossed, with a couple more tweaks, we'll get them back to where they're comfortable here. They're used to our routine, and they'll be an integral part of our milk supply that we need here on the homestead. Come on, let's go. Let go of your rope. You have your foot on your rope. You have your foot on your rope. What do you see? Do you see my camera? You see my camera? Huh? What you doing? Oh, did I find a sweet spot? Oh, Thelma. Uh-oh, I found a good spot. Now, another thing that we have changed is, you know, that first day we kept them in the hay barn just to kind of keep them kind of in a close proximity so that we wouldn't have to chase them around. Because that's one thing that, you know, we've done in the past, and until we were told differently, it makes a lot of sense. When you bring a new cow onto your property, it helps if you keep them in kind of a closed area so that you can access them, you can pet them, you can get them used to you, rather than just turning them loose on a pasture and then having to run around trying to catch them. So far, that's been genius. That was a great suggestion that we got. Now, the other thing is the barn. There really wasn't a lot of functional space. So when we realized that it was going to get cold, Jason said, I have to do something about the hay barn. I don't want them staying out in the corral all night because they don't have any kind of protection from the elements. So he had Jay, his friend, come over, and they moved all of the elements out of here. Him and the girls moved a bunch of the other stuff. There was like a fence and some other things in here. And we moved that all out, and they made a milk barn. There's 2 little stalls with a divider. We've got water troughs in each side, so the girls can get in there in the evening. So the routine now that we're trying to get them used to is in the morning, they'll still be in the stall. We'll get them out, milk them, and instead of putting them back in the stall, we'll walk them up to the corral and eventually up to where they're going to be on their pasture. So then in the evening milking, when we bring them from the corral or from the pasture to the milk stanchion, we will then, after they're done being milked, we'll put them in the stalls here in the milk barn until morning time. So they'll have some place to be away from, like right now the wind is blowing, it's cold. So they'll have a little bit of a shelter to get away from all of that and to try and stay warm. So really, it isn't about can't. We just got to figure it out. Thank you for stopping by the Big Bear Homestead. God bless and have a nice day.